In this video, we're going to discuss the void of course moon. I mention this frequently in my daily updates on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, but there's not enough time to explain exactly what the void of course moon is, so that's the purpose of this video. It's really important to understand what this is and to work with it or work around it for various reasons, and I'll give you lots of examples of what to do and what not to do during a void of course moon. First, I'll start off with why you should care about the void moon and the textbook definition of what it is. So a little bit of astrology and how we calculate that. And most importantly, we'll go through the do's and don'ts. So void of course, it doesn't mean, oh, of course, like I'm agreeing with you. We're talking about course as in the path of the moon, as in the path that the moon takes through the sky and through each zodiac sign. And we're looking at the aspects that the moon makes as it goes through each zodiac sign. So is it conjunct the sun for the new moon, which occurs every month, or is it opposite Pluto? So that's what I mean by aspects. People have very little power to have any effect on the outcome of their goal during a void of course moon. It's better not to initiate anything or try to make any real progress on a project until the void moon is over. This is the number one thing to consider with horary and electional astrology, which is looking at the outcome of past events or planning future events. So let's say you set a goal during a void moon and you just can't wait to get started. But doing this is like trying to get out of a pitch black room. You're feeling around for the door, you're trying to find a light to turn on, you head in different directions, but you just don't make any progress. That's what a void moon can feel like, especially the long ones, the ones that last several hours. It's best to just wait for it to be over and for the lights to come back on. Otherwise, you're exhausted and you've wasted all your energy. There are certain things you can do during a void moon and are good for that, and we will discuss those. But as far as the big stuff, initiating new things, we want to try to wait if we can. I always tell you when the void moons are in my daily horoscope, so you don't have to go looking it up. You can just check my daily videos every day. Because if you are planning something or beginning new projects during a void moon, nothing will come of it, no successful outcome. And often we lose focus during this time, and anything we initiate will eventually lose momentum. So what happens during a void of course moon? We lose focus, our mind wanders, we can have mental blocks, delays, poor judgments, mistakes. The creative ideas just aren't flowing. Any ideas that we do have can be unrealistic. Any items that you purchase may have defects or be overpriced or never used. And remember that everyone is experiencing the void moon at the same time. So other people are going to be prone to these things as well. So it's like we're all walking around in the dark. So this is more the textbook definition of the void moon and why. If you're not really interested in this, you can skip ahead to the do's and don'ts. But a moon is considered void if it will not make any other Ptolemaic aspects before leaving the zodiac sign that it's in. So what does that mean? That means the moon won't make a conjunction to another planet, an opposition, a trine, a square, or a 60-degree sextile before hopping into the next zodiac sign. For example, on February 1st, the moon will go into the sign of Scorpio. It will be square Pluto, then trine Saturn. And on February 3rd, so 2 days later, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, the moon will make a 60-degree sextile aspect to Mercury. After that, it will not make any other Ptolemaic aspects until it moves on into Sagittarius. It can last an hour, it can last several hours. In the first few months of 2024, we will have a few that last up to 24 hours. That is uncommon. That is a really long time. So it's those that we want to make sure we're paying attention to. And it all depends on the position of the planets on that day. And here's just the list of Ptolemaic aspects if you wanted to save this. Conjunction is when two other planets in the astrology chart are next to each other, like at a new moon when the sun and moon appear to be next to each other in the sky. 180 degrees is when they're opposite. A trine is a 120-degree angle. A square is 90 and a sextile is 60. There are other aspects that we consider in astrology, like the quintile and the quincunx, but those are not usually used to identify the void of course moon. We're only going to consider these, but there are many other aspects that planets make that we can look at in natal astrology. So now let's discuss the do's and don'ts. Let's start with the don'ts. I think these are a little more important to remember, and the do's are important as well, especially because we don't want to be just sitting around doing nothing, especially during those 24-hour void moons, or even the ones that last 3, 4, or 5 hours. So I do have some things that you can do. It'd be good for that. But let's start with the don'ts. Don't spend time, money, marketing. So if you run advertisements or any creative ideas, meeting with clients, or even negotiations, you don't want to do that during the void moon because it won't go anywhere. When you're marketing your service, your product, you're running ads online, you want something to come from that. You want to be contacted by a client, have them schedule, have them purchase your product. And so you're not going to see the results that you want, not like you would when the moon wasn't void. Don't go on first dates. You don't want to have any big new beginnings in relationship either, like moving in, getting engaged, or especially your wedding day. Some people use electional astrology to plan the date of their wedding. That's one of the services that I offer. And the first thing that I use in electional astrology in picking the right day or a good day to begin something new, the first thing I look at is where's the moon, and if it's void. And if it's void, we don't pick those days or those times of day. Don't start new projects like planning vacations, scheduling the vacation, starting a new business. You don't want to make big plans or schedule appointments. Don't apply for jobs, don't interview, don't hold important meetings like brainstorming, because our ideas can be unrealistic during these times. And you don't want to have meetings where you're trying to make big decisions either, because it's hard to focus and you're more likely to make mistakes during a void moon. Don't file important papers if it's the beginning of something. If it's going to be the end of something, the end of the matter, you want to file these papers and be done with it, and you're not waiting on a new license to come in or something like that. You just want to file it like tax forms. And then you can send those in. I have that on the next slide. Don't plan or schedule parties or events during a void moon. Don't gamble. Don't invest. You can, and it doesn't mean it'll turn out terrible. It just means that the likelihood is higher for an outcome that you don't want. And that, again, more likely to have mistakes during this time. Don't apply for loans or opening new accounts. If you want to close an account and again have it be the end of the matter, you can do that. It depends on what you want the outcome to be. If you want something to result from your efforts, don't do it during the void moon. If you want something to be the end of the matter and that's it, you can do that during a void. Also, you may want to try to put off elective procedures, and those are procedures you don't really need to have, just ones that you want. If something's really important, you have to do it. Make your best decision on that. Sometimes there are things that can't wait, so go with your gut. So now the do's. What can you do or should you do during a void moon? Again, if for the long void moons, we don't just want to sit around and do nothing. Especially if it's like a weekday during normal work hours for you. You can declutter office or home and throw away things like old candles, old magazines, worn out shoes, expired food. Go through your purse or your wallet, old receipts you don't need to keep anymore, old makeup, nail polish, empty bottles, broken toys, anything with broken parts or missing pieces. It's just not useful anymore. You can change things out, like change out your toothbrush. We should be doing that regularly. Clean out a junk drawer. You don't have to throw everything away. If it's something that you don't want anymore that you think is useful, you can donate, like old clothes. I don't know about you, but I accumulate a massive amount of emails, and sometimes I just can't delete them fast enough. And so a void moon is a good time to go through your emails, delete a bunch of the crap, and it can be helpful because maybe an important email got lost. And so that's something that you want to do during a void moon, because we have void moons during work hours, normal work hours, at least 5 times a month. I think usually we have void moons at least 8 or 9 times a month. It kind of depends. And so that's something that you can do regularly to keep your email box efficient, and doing that regularly, again, it'll help you so you don't miss anything important. I have that happen to me sometimes in my personal email because I've had the same one for like 15 to 20 years, so a lot of junk mail in there. Find something to do to relax, like a massage, a spa day, yoga, TV. You can just sit around if you're not at work and have nothing better to do. You can do any of your regular chores around the house. Again, you can mail in taxes or other documents if you want that to be the end of the matter. If you don't want to hear about it anymore, you're not waiting on a certificate to come in. If it's your passport, you send in documents, you want to get your new passport back. So I wouldn't recommend setting that in, but if it's anything where someone just needed some extra information and that's the end of it, you can do that. That's going to be your barometer. Do you want something to result from your efforts, or do you want this to be the end? That's what you'll want to ask yourself, because there's no way I could, there's just endless possibilities for these do's and don'ts. You can also use this time to do some journaling, some shadow work, self-evaluation, self-discovery, any kind of work in the inner world, or if you're seeing a therapist or a life coach or something like that, you can, any kind of inner world exploration is okay. A void moon, it can be a time where you're very contemplative. It's just that you may not be able to focus on those things for a long period of time, but just kind of some freestyle journaling might be really good. So there you have it, a quick overview of the void moon, what it means, and some do's and don'ts. And if you are not following me on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, make sure to follow me. I am also on Patreon, patreon.com/Jenny Webb Astrology, where you can find bonus content, early access to some daily videos, and the Learn Astrology series.